Welcome to Dominate Your Day podcast. This is the podcast that adds value to leaders who want to make a difference in the workplace. We believe each person is unique and has a purpose they can live out every day and make an impact in the world. Here at Dominate Your Day podcast, we hear stories from leaders who have used their unique talents to transform themselves and their companies from the inside out.
I want to welcome everybody to Dominate Your Day. Today I have a special guest, and his name is Carlos Davidovich. Carlos, where are you calling in from today? Where are you living?
I'm living outside Madrid in Spain. That is not bad, I tell you.
What time is it there? Is it
Here
nighttime?
is 6:12 p.m. So we have
6:12.
we have 6 hours different. You're in the state, right? East Coast?
Yes, yes. So I'm in Dallas, Texas. So
Okay.
yeah, Central. So, but
Well, yeah, it's central. So it's maybe seven then.
yeah,
Depends.
yeah. So welcome, welcome. So you have an interesting life. So Carlos, I'm reading that you're a medical doctor and TEDx speaker and executive coach. Tell us your story.
Okay. I mean, in the next 4 hours, I will tell you my whole story. But
Right.
so, in a nutshell, born and raised in Argentina, medical doctor as a profession, and I work as a medical doctor, but also I have business experience in pharmaceutical business. So I was executive of top international companies in the area of biotechnology. It's quite specific, quite niche, let's say. We always used to call it the science fiction of pharma, and it still is.
Oh,
Then around 2000, I moved to Europe for personal reasons, not for work, and I found out no way to do medicine, no way to do pharma. So I had to reinvent it myself, 100%. And
wow.
yeah, 100% literally. And long story short, I ended working in leadership development and start working as executive coach. That I didn't know that I love it. That's
So
something that
Carlos, yeah, that's so interesting to me. Did you have leadership roles early in your life, like in high school, college? Were you kind of in
I did for 20 years. I was a leader in that biotech pharma
Mm.
company. I was working in three and I was leading teams all the time. That was my
Oh,
work. I was head of business unit in biotech in Argentina and Latin America and the whole region as a
so
leader.
you wow. So you had this skill of not only being a medical doctor, but also being able to create this opportunity to help lead teams and help them be their best.
That's why I had the chance. I would say the gift to learn how to. I mean, what leadership is about. So when I ended working doing this or giving these talks and no talks no workshops and course on leadership, I was based in a specific program, but in my experience as a leader, of course. So I know what happened in the backstage of a leadership world.
Wow. So you could feel their pain, you knew exactly what they were going through, but then you had this medical background too. Is that what led you to write your book this year? Is it the book that you wrote this year?
The point is just to continue and finish my story. I in one moment when I started working as an executive coach, I found out that there were some group in United States that were connecting neuroscience with organizations and business. And I said, okay, I mean, I'm bilingual in medicine and business. I can also bridge those two worlds.
There you
So
go.
then I started finding that fascinated, and that's what I do today. So and that was led me to write a book. What I do, I don't talk about science, I talk about practical tips that we can bring from how the brain works to be applied in organization and business. Mainly I talk about human behavior, that's the truth, but with a scientific support for those that really needed to hear that. And that's what I do. And as a last comment, I was invited to work and live in Canada, 2013. So I spent 7 years of my life in Toronto. and the pandemic brought me back to Europe.
Wow. Okay, so of all of those things you've done, medical doctor, leader of a pharma company, and then in Canada, and now back in Spain as an executive coach, what is your passion around what you're doing that you've done in all those careers? What's the one red thread of consistency you're seeing from when you started maybe as a doctor out of college to where you are now?
I did also postdoc in psychology,
Ah,
but never thought I was going to use it in my working life. To be honest, I done it for me. Anyway, now I in a very respectful way, I was able to put as a coach all my schizophrenic sides together in one line. You know, I can apply everything now, and because this is about life, as you know, when we
right.
work as a coach, and even though I call myself executive coach, there is no way not to talk about the whole life of the person that is in front of you. And I feel, I mean, strong enough to go deeper on that. And that's when
Yes.
people start really making changes. But what passions me, and I would tell you, Dana, when what happened to me quite often, people saying, "But you were a medical doctor, you are." And how come? Don't you miss that? And then my answer is always the same. I'm still doing the same because the real meaning of medical doctor is healing. And I
Mm,
try to work in the same field from a different perspective. Because medicine is not a humanitarian career, and I take this my responsibility. It's a technical career. No, you
mm.
learn symptoms and signs, how to connect it with. That's fantastic, but the human side depends on you. And what I do now is, I would say the core is the same. Try to help people to be in a better place, working wise, because that's always the doorway, and then as a human being.
Okay, so you have this amazing talent stack that you're using all of that together in an integrated way to work with your clients.
Absolutely correct.
So so when you wrote the 5 brain leadership and personality DNA, which was like last year, was that last year you wrote
Yeah,
that?
last
2022?
year was the year of the books.
So what kind of prompted you to say I got to get this book out there? There's something I need to share with the world.
Another Dana, great question. I didn't want to write books because there are many out there, and you know us better than
Mhm.
me. But what
Mhm.
happened is every time I was giving a workshop and a lecture, always people ask me, where can I read these kind of things they were presenting? And I need
Mm.
again to be completely honest. I didn't do research. What I was my credit is connecting dots. So
Mm.
all the information is there. You know, I mean, internet, chat, GPT, whatever you want. But the way to connect the dots was something that I done in my way. That was that people start saying, "Well, you write down the workshops, and that's it." And that's what I did. So I wrote down, I mean, all the workshops, and I found a fantastic editor that was able to translate it in a book. And then that's how
Wow.
the book came out. So just again, it's just to deliver information that is there, but not in the same way,
What do
and
you
very
feel?
practical way.
Yeah. So what do you feel like, Carlos, is your message that you've been given to give the world to make a difference? What do you feel like in your book, in your teaching, in your coaching? What is it you want to make sure that anybody that comes in contact with you learns before you leave them based on
Oh
your
my God.
research? And
Oh my God, that's a question. that,
I like to ask
that,
questions.
Dana, that is the question.
Yes. It's like, what do you want people to know about you and leave with? Like, man, I met Carlos today and this is what I learned about myself. Um,
I tell you, I mean, I don't know. I don't want that they will remember me, but if I want to help them in some way, is to open their mind to different perspectives. And that's what we
mm,
do in coaching. My sweet spot in coaching is reframing. It's challenging
mm,
my clients all the time to think differently because still nobody knows what reality is. So don't tell me that you can define it because it's not true. And life
right.
has completely tons of different way to be up to approach life. So when I try to work with people, I don't know what they finally want, but I try to break the pattern of one track mind, to think in one way, showing different perspectives. And I am delighted and blessed when people say, thanks to you, I was able to increase my self awareness and to
Mm.
understand that my perspective or my view, the way to see the world was not exactly the only one, that there were many others. Make
So I
sense?
heard a yes, and I heard your story on your TEDx about one of your clients and how it took a while for him to transform. And you've written this wonderful book with the 5 brains. So do you want to share in a short snippet kind of what your book is about so that our listeners can take away something that they can be thinking about when they're trying to
Okay,
impact and change themselves? Yeah.
excellent. Based on my medical background,
Mhm.
so I can, let's say, dive into some concepts that maybe they are not so common. I take credit on that to build this. Let's call it the framework of the 5 brains. What
Yes.
I want, and the what is scientifically proven is that through evolution we have 3 brains here, and this is known. The reptilian, the most the old one, and then the emotional, the rational. But today we know that there are neurons, brain cells in our heart, and there is a whole system quite popular today in our guts. So I'm not creating that. That those are facts, and all of them are interacting. What is important to know, and that's what I say in the TED talk, is I like the metaphor is we have an internal team of different characters.
I love that. I love that.
So
Yeah.
we as a leader of ourselves, we need to understand their languages, who is in charge, and what are the consequences when some of them are taking control.
Mm.
And very simplistic way, I mean, it's about intuition, it's about, sorry, instinct, it's about emotions, it's about intuition, and it's about the rationality that we think is leading our behavior and our decision. And that's completely wrong. So let's finally accept that we are emotional beings with a brand new rational software that still we don't know how it works. That's the truth. The comparison is 500 million years against 50,000. It's nothing. So the one that we trust the most is the most primitive one, but it's not exactly our friend because it's the one that will jump in at any moment that we don't feel okay, and then the fight will start, or the confrontation, if you want to call it. So in the TED talk, I was trying to show that everything I said was a real case or a combination of many, but it's about be aware of who you are, who is talking inside of you, and try to be in real control. So
Mhm.
then I says this is a formula just to say try to bring your positive emotions, because emotions could be positive or negative, of course,
Right.
your positive emotions, and with your positive emotions use your rational brain. Then will help you in the best way, and leave the, let's say, instinctual brain, I mean the survival mode, only for emergencies. What happened in our real life, Dana, and what happened in companies, that the reptilian brain is quite alive. And then we have a
Mhm.
lot of conflicts, and because we are people are very smart, they argue in a rational way, one, when the truth is that the reptilian brain, the instinct or the survival one, is managing the strings and having the power. That conversation will not lead to a positive end. Make sense?
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting because one of the things you talked about and you mentioned briefly here is the heart and the gut,
Yeah.
and that the fact that we actually are thinking have some neurons in our heart, in our
Yeah.
gut.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And I
crazy.
like it's crazy. I tell you, Dana, when I found out, I
Yeah.
thought I didn't study that in medicine because I'm not so young, so I didn't study
Not
that.
so young. I love that.
But the point is that the heart, and it's still there's a lot of things to research on the heart, but they are anecdotal things that I like to bring. I mean, when I present the heart, the let's say the brain in the heart. I
Mhm.
as you know, I use it in the TED talks. The saying in English, I know it by heart. What do you mean? The memory is in the heart. When it seems like that is true. Or the word remember in Spanish, recordar, is going through the heart and bringing information. There are
Mm.
series of data today that shows that maybe the heart is a reservoir of memory. And just one last thing, there is statistically, I mean, proven that people that go through any intervention regarding the heart, could be heart attack, could be a surgery,
Mhm.
the incidence of psychological and emotional problems is higher after. So
Mm.
could be depression, bipolar, whatever. So there is a connection between
Mm.
touching the heart and our emotional being. So I leave it right there. I mean, I don't like to be
Mhm.
fundamentalist. I mean, it's no black and white, but
Right.
definitely, our heart has a link with our emotions, and in a very strong way. I'm not talking about the romantic side. That's a different
Right.
story. Okay?
This is different. Yeah, this is more of thinking and kind of with your heart, right? Is
Yeah,
it kind
exactly.
of yeah. And then also with your gut.
Yeah, absolutely. And the gut is about intuition. Well, I mean, it's interesting because when I started with all this stuff, I was kind of afraid about people will say, "Oh, Carlos, it's a touchy-feely stuff. I don't want to go there."
Yeah.
The gut, and then never happened to me. Top leaders, when they listen the story of the gods and all the things, they come to me and say, "Carlos, I know perfectly what you're talking about. My team did all the analysis, all the Excels and whatever, and they say we need to go right. I know because of my gut, we need to go left, but I
Mm.
don't know how to explain to them." And I say, "Don't worry, the alphabet is not in our gut, so don't worry, don't waste time. Just because what we call gut feeling is not
Yeah.
magic, it's an algorithm that is based mainly in experience. That's
Mm.
why people highly experienced, those are the ones that will tell you, no, it's there. And then we will find the why. And I'm not saying, please, with all respect, that 100% of the time is right. But also, our rational brain is not right 100% of the time. So, this is another source of information that is very important to decode or to learn how to decode.
So interesting. I've been reading a lot about happiness lately.
Yeah,
And there's, a happiness class at Harvard that Arthur Brooks
I
teaches. I
know.
don't know if you followed any of that. And he
Yes.
talks about the lymphatic system when you're having a thought and bringing it to your frontal cortex to actually. So, how does all that work with what you're saying?
The key hormone, technical called neurotransmitter, linked with happiness is called serotonin.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter the technical name. What is important to know is that the medical world, found out that 95% of the serotonin is produced in our guts, not in our brain.
Mm,
So our mood is one of the reasons. Our mood is very, very connected with our digestive system. And there are many diseases that the main component is how you feel. I mean, to be good, to be better, or to be worse. Happiness, I'm very, I will say, careful with the word happiness. It's, it's,
mm.
it's, too, it's too big, it's too
Too
broad.
big. But
Yeah,
you
it's
seem
too
like
big.
a happy guy.
Yeah, but I know that I can have. I mean, there are ups and downs like everyone.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
So we need to understand what really happiness is. And
Hmm.
there's a lot of fantasies. There's a lot of let's call it illusion about what happiness is. Happiness is this feeling that things are okay, this feeling that I'm in a good place, even though maybe not everything goes well, but I'm again in, I say it in a positive way, I'm in control. So I'm managing this. Not as a control freak, okay? I
Yes.
am, of course, like all of us in Western world, most of us.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
happiness is a state of mind that
Right.
normally is not peak and valleys. That's a different story. Peak and valleys is about pleasure and it's about dopamine. It's a different component. And
Right.
but happiness is about steady state that definitely we can reach and depends on our state of mind.
Yeah. So we know right now, this is from Gallup recent research,
Yeah.
that we're kind of in a mental health pandemic in the workplace.
Okay.
So when you're working with leaders in the workplace and teams and helping them understand their best self and helping them be that, how are do you find that your leaders are saying, okay, doctor, let me ask you this question. I'm having this ache, or, do you find that they're really getting into the psychological side of this? And you might have some other stories. You shared a story on TED Talk, but stories of how you've helped leaders in the workplace be their best self and manage those 5 different voices
Brains. Yeah.
internally. Yeah.
That is what I try to do. And again, to position my client in the right place to be in healthy control, in a healthy
Yes.
control of themselves, and always happen in this way. When they understand their own inner process, they can understand others' process.
Mhm.
And that's what I try to introduce. I don't talk about you know much better than me that the word psychology is not exactly has a good marketing because
Mhm.
people link it with some complication or not good thing. It's not true. Okay, we know that. But so, but this process of behavior or our work as a coach, definitely we are dealing with the psychological part of people. But
Mhm.
I try to aim the word emotions because at the moment that emotions and instinct are the 80% of the inputs we receive is is one of the most important reasons to learn how to deal with them. So
Absolutely.
it makes sense. So don't tell me that you're in control if you cannot manage your emotions.
Right.
And people, yeah, and people say, and if you really want to have a productive conversation, you need to do it from certain places inside of you, like for instance from positive emotions. You know that Seligman is working on that, was working on that, Martin Seligman, in positive psychology a lot. And also he doesn't talk too much about happiness. He talks a lot about how you can get those the state of positive emotions to deal with daily life. I don't want to derail. I tell me if
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah. That makes sense. And I think, there's so much on this topic, and I think when we talk about a mental health pandemic in the workplace, it's really about teaching leaders how to manage their own well-being first so they can serve those that follow them, their followers. And a lot of it is understanding themselves. And the best thing we can do is to really be a great study of ourselves. And I think I'm seeing this transformation in the workplace right now.
Yes, it's so true what you say that I will tell you an anecdote that happens to me this week.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
I'm coaching a bunch of people, a group of people, top leader from I would say a top telco company in Europe. And one of my coaches say, "Okay, tomorrow I go to this retreat. What is that? I mean, where are you going to?" That company top only offered to top management. They go to a retreat in some place in Switzerland, 3 days without talking, without mobile
Silent
phone.
retreat. Yeah.
Silent retreat with a Tibetanian monk. I was shocked. I said, "Oh my God, what are you going to do? Because these people, are electrical, all day.
Yeah.
And he was scared to death. I will know what happened next week. But I mean, but they are obliged to go. So this is a transformational thing. You know that
Mhm.
today mindfulness is a trend. It's a fashion. Everybody talks about mindfulness, but because it has a power behind. And the power of mindfulness are 5 techniques to keep you in the present time, to be here. Why is that so important? Because it's the place that anxiety cannot access.
Ah, bingo. Now let's say that again.
I will say it differently. An-
Okay.
Anxiety is a common friend of many of us. Yeah. But there
Yes.
is a way to deal with anxiety based on some finding that we didn't know in the scientific community. Anxiety only can stay in you, in your body, your mind, when you are thinking in a negative way about the past, or in a rumination, or in a negative way about the future. If you can keep yourself in the present time, you close the door to anxiety. There's no way to be anxious when you are fully in the present time.
Carlos, that's gold right there. I think people need to hear that,
Yeah,
because there is a lot of anxiety out there, whether it's
of
the war in
course.
Israel or whether, whatever is going on at the present moment is people turn on their TV and they get all anxious or they start hearing the division and all that. So being able to say stop and pause and get present is a really great tool.
And it's not. I mean, I'm meditating for 50 years, but I don't want also to fall in the wrong path that I consider, to start recommending things that are not so simple. Today we talk about meditation, I will say too easily, because
Mm,
meditation is a quite complex process. Mindfulness is more
grab.
grabbable. You can get it easier
Mhm.
because it's a very simple technique. I'm not, please don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about against meditation. I'm saying, don't tell me that I need to do like the same, like go to gym,
Mhm.
okay, you need to go 1 hour every day. I will not do it. So it's not
Right.
practical. So what I'm trying to say is I try to give practical tips that people can put in practice today, and they will not be suffering because of that.
Those are great tips. Yeah.
No, that's what I do. I mean, I have one
Yeah.
of my workshop is on from overwhelmed to flourishing, and I explain one of the things anxiety, another thing is to explain 2 cycles that we have in the body, to rhythm, that if
Mm.
we learn that they are there and how to follow, our state of mind will be more calm and productivity will be up. The circadian and ultradian doesn't matter. I don't want to take
Mm.
too much time on that.
Mm. And I've heard that. I mean, you hear about people wearing these rings that help with their circadian rhythm and their, know
Exactly.
when to sleep, all that. That's great. Well, Carlos, anything else as we get ready to close out? Those are some great tips that I hope our leaders and followers will take with them is how to live in the present, how to understand those voices talking to them within themselves, manage that internal group first before you're managing externally, right? Anything else you want to add to your great gift today of what you've learned and bringing that to the workplace that's
Well,
coming up
there will many. I mean, but let me think a little bit about. So, yeah, to introduce all the things. I mean, you also know that neuroscience also is trendy today. Everybody talks about
for you? Yeah.
neuroscience, and that provokes 2 reactions: people that wants to know, but they will find many too technical people explaining neuroscience, and then that rejected. It's too
Yes.
complicated. I just want to tell people you don't need to get to become a neuroscientist to leverage the benefits of how your brain works. They are very, very practical tips today. So we call it neuroscience because it came from that. But there are several concrete things that will help you to lead in a more practical and effective way, and mainly you will feel better with yourself. That is the place to start. And again, it's maybe it takes too much time, but there are many, many, many things I can share about that. That's what I do. And that's the reason that I love what I do, because you see that people are like a sponge, they are
Mhm.
eager to learn, because there's a lot of anxiety in the world, a lot of pressure,
Mhm.
there's a lot of things. So let's be careful to say, okay, leave everything and do nothing. No, come on, I cannot do that. This is not practical.
Mhm.
People get more anxious. But if we can introduce and little by little explain the benefit and how to do it, you start seeing that people start receiving it in a very positive way. Now I'm more general, because to go more specific is takes time, of course.
Sure.
But what I'm trying to say is, don't be afraid to ask and to learn, because we don't need to become anybody else than ourselves. It's just to bring some practical tips that we can introduce in our life in daily basis, and we have a lot of benefits regarding sleep, regarding eating. There are many small things.
And it's things that we've probably been living with our whole life, as you know. And once you started studying yourself and what you're thinking and why, and being curious about that, and studying the internal voices and the internal, what do you talk, knowing that and listening to your heart and your gut, and then being able to be in the present and try mindfulness. Don't have to be an expert at, you don't have to be go be a monk, but
Exactly.
yeah. So you've really shared a lot of great tidbits today. So how can people reach you if they want to find out more about what you
I have
share in the
my
workplace?
website with my name. I mean, carlosdavidovich.com. That's it. And of course, in LinkedIn, I have my profile there. It's very easy to find the profile in LinkedIn. And if you want to, I mean, tell your people, I mean, to watch the TEDx is quite fun, and gives a lot of tips. It's a condensed in 16 minutes of a lot of good information.
That's great. We can put that on the show notes, Carlos, and have that there. And then
And the
also
book,
your book is your
the
book
book.
on Amazon? Is
Yeah,
your
yeah, absolutely. The two books are in Amazon.
Oh, we talked about one book. Is there another book I didn't hear about?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you said it. Personality
Oh,
DNA.
oh, Personality DNA. Okay, I thought for some reason I thought they were the same book, but
No,
two
no, there are
different
two
books.
different books.
Okay.
They're over there. There's the two books.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, Carlos, thank you so much for being with us
No,
today.
my
Loved
pleasure.
having you and learning. I took away some great tidbits. So can't wait to hear more about your journey, and good luck with your books and all that
Thanks
you're
a
doing
lot.
in the world.
Thanks a lot, Anna.
Okay.
Congratulations for your work, the work you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
You have been listening to Dominate Your Day podcast. If you're ready to transform your life and workplace from the inside out, go to danawilliamsco.com and set up a discovery call. We would love to connect with you and equip you with some helpful resources. Thank you for listening today, and please take a moment to subscribe to Dominate Your Day wherever you listen.